Okay. Nero fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations called Christians by the populace, or by the population. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilatus, and a most mischievous superstition thus checked for the moment again broke out not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but even in Rome. So this Tiberius heard about this Christ, etc., and apparently he was pondering it quite a bit, and he was like starting to indicate, wow, this guy's the real deal. He just had this funny feeling, right? But the Roman says, no. He can't be a god, he can't be a deity unless we approve of it, and then we deem him one. Okay? And so forth. Images and pictures of Jesus. The Apocrypha and Pseudepigrapha. And Pseudepigrapha is writings that are deemed, especially by today's top scholars, theologians like Byzantine, to be writings that were not necessarily fraudulent. Some were considered fraudulent, not the real deal, written by somebody who was basically going to copy the style of Paul. Yeah, he liked Paul's letters, etc., and he wanted to copy or mimic Paul's style. So when he wrote add-ons to whatever Paul said, and then put them out amongst the public, I mean, they'd say, oh yeah, it's from Paul, okay, yeah, cool, written in the style of Paul, rather than him put his name, Reginald or Barry or Eric or whatever, to it, okay? Because they would just go, this is just you writing it, right? Making it up, sort of thing. So if it looked like it was in the style of Paul, people would read it and he'd get known, right? That's what it was. But there were some, like Paul states in the scriptures, he's basically aware, knowing that there's someone writing these fake letters attributing it to Paul, so he added a key. So the people that he wrote to, be it the churches in Ephesus, etc., they'd know as soon as they received the letter, it was from Paul. Okay? It didn't have that key, this is a fake. Okay, the Apocrypha and Pseudepigrapha. Neither the New Testament nor the writings of the earlier post-biblical Christian authors have any statements regarding the personal appearance of Jesus, thus contrasting sharply with the Apocrypha and the Pseudepigrapha, and especially with the works of the Gnostics. These was a knowing, as like a mystical group of believers, right? Like a cult or a sect or a group. In the Shepherd of Hermas 9:6-12, the lofty stature of the Son of God is emphasized, and according to the Gospel of Peter, he even towered above the heaven at his resurrection. Okay, so it's like 20 feet tall or something like that, right? Or more. Gnostic influence is betrayed by visions in which Christ appears as a shepherd or the master of a ship, or in the form of one of his apostles, as of Paul and of Thomas, or again as a young boy. In the Acts of Andrew and Matthew, he assumes the figure of a lad, and the same form was taken in the Acts of Peter and Andrew, in the Acts of Matthew, and the Ethiopic Acts of James. Okay, this is Ethiopian texts, books, etc. Manazara is held by a youth in the Acts of Thomas, and a beautiful lad appears to Peter and Theon in the Actus Versalensis, which also mentions the smile of friendship in the face of Jesus. A handsome youth with smiling face appears at the grave of Drusiana in the Acts of John, but certain widows to whom the Lord restored their sight saw him, an aged man of indescribable appearance, though otherwise perceived in him a youth, and others still a boy. The youthfulness of Christ is also mentioned in the life and passion of Saint, not too sure what that is, Salus. They've put this thing over it so you can't see who it is. Sure, it's probably Saint Salus or something, not really sure. And the vision of Saints Perpetua and Felicitas ascribed to the risen Christ, the face of a youth with snow white hair. Okay. The Church Fathers. The early church Christian authors were not by no means concordant in the opinions of the personal appearance of Jesus, some basing their judgment on Isaiah 53? I'm not really sure what that is. Is that an eye? It's supposed to be an owl or something? Okay, it's in Isaiah. Ah, okay, maybe this is Isaiah 52 and 53. Denied him all beauty and comeliness, while others, with reference to Psalms 60 verse 3, not really sure what that is. It's a 10, maybe it's a 50. So maybe it's 40 verse 3, not really sure. Not too hot with the Roman numbers. Regarded him as the most beautiful of mankind. To the former class belong Justin Martyr, Clement of Alexandria, Basil Isidore of Pelusium, Theodoret, Cyril of Alexandria, Tertullian and Cyprian. Origen declared that Christ assumed whatever form was suited to circumstances. It was not until the 4th century that Chrysostom and Jerome laid emphasis upon the beauty of Jesus, while Isidore of Pelusium had referred the phrase, "Thou art fairer than the children of men," in Psalms 40 verse 2, not too sure on that one, to the divine virtue of Christ. Chrysostom interpreted the lack of comeliness mentioned in Isaiah 53:2 as an allusion to the humiliation of the Lord. Jerome saw in the profound impression produced by the first sight of Jesus upon disciples and foes alike a proof of heavenly beauty in face and eyes. From the insults inflicted upon Jesus, Augustine concluded that he had appeared hateful to his persecutors, while actually he had been more beautiful than all, since the virgins had loved him. Okay, so Augustine is trying to say here, who came to this conclusion, that Jesus was hateful to those who were giving him persecution, right? At the hands of his persecutors. Don't know about that one. I think Augustine might have taken that out of context, but that's just his perspective, his opinion, right? His view. 3. Other data. The problem of the life of passion of Saint Catherine, is it? Okay, these church fathers are Roman Catholic. Okay, down through the centuries. Other data. The problem of the life passion of Saint Catherine, maybe? See question mark us. I'm not too sure what that is. And the external appearance of Jesus. Okay, maybe this one here that was covered up. Up here, this one here. I think it's got it. It's missing the L. It's missing. We don't know what that is. I don't think it's Catherine. It's probably Callus or Salus or something like that. Don't know why they did that. And the external appearance of Jesus possessed but minor interest for the church fathers, although the Catholic acts of the holy apostles, yes, Roman Catholic, they're all Roman Catholic, his church fathers, of the holy apostles ascribe to him an olive complexion, a beautiful beard and flashing eyes. Further details are first found in a letter to the Emperor Theophilus, attributed to John of Damascus in MPG. Oh gosh, you're not too sure what that one is. Could be 195 or something, 349, which speaks of the brows which grew together. So he had one monobrow, the beautiful eyes, the prominent nose, the curling hair, the look of health, the black beard, the wheat-coloured complexion, and the long fingers. A picture which almost coincides with the handbook on painting from Mount Athos, not earlier than the 16th century. In like manner, Nicephorus Callistus, who introduced his description of the picture of Christ, MPG, with the words, "As we have received it from the ancients," was impressed with the healthful appearance, with the stature, the brown hair, which was not very thick but somewhat curling. So, okay, so he had chestnut hair, he had golden hair, all this sort of stuff. So it's changing all over the centuries, right? Different descriptions by different people. Okay, so he had brown hair, not very thick, sometimes curly or somewhat curling, the black brows which were not fully arched, the sea blue eyes shading into brown, his beautiful glance, a prominent nose but brown beard of moderate length, and the long hair which had not been cut since childhood. So maybe he had that hippie look. The neck slightly bent, and the olive and somewhat ruddy complexion of the oval face. A slight divergence from both these accounts is shown by the so-called letter of Lentulus, the ostensible predecessor of Pontius Pilate, who is said to have prepared a report to the Roman Senate concerning Jesus and containing a description of him. According to this document, Christ possessed a tall and handsome figure, a countenance which inspired reverence and awakened love and fear together. Dark, shining, curling hair, parted in the centre in Nazarene fashion and flowing over the shoulders, an open and serene forehead, a face without wrinkle or blemish, and rendered more beautiful by its delicate ruddiness. So it's like a redness, right? A perfect nose and mouth, a full red beard. So he had a red beard now, of the same colour as the hair. So he had red hair now, and worn in 2 points, and piercing eyes over greyish blue. So everyone keeps giving different descriptions of him. 2. Literary data on the oldest pictures of Jesus. 1. A handkerchief embroidered with the figures of Jesus and his apostles, and made according to legend by his mother, is said to have been seen by the monk Caiaphas during his residence in Jerusalem, at Nan de Loci Sancti, issue 1112. 2. In his account of his visit to Caesarea Philippi, Eusebius, another historian, mentions it's in his histories Kill 718, a group of statuary in brass which consisted of a kneeling woman and a man standing with his hands stretched out toward her. Local tradition saw in this a figure of Jesus and a woman healed of an issue of blood, who was said to have come from Caesarea Philippi. This legend was accepted by Eusebius, Asterius, Amasinus, Photius, Sozomen, Philostorchius, and Macarius Magnus, the last name calling the woman Veronica. The actual meaning of the group is uncertain. Some have seen it in an emperor and a province, possibly Hadrian and Judea, while others have regarded it as Aesculapius and Hygeia, a view which is vitiated by the fact that no mention is made of the serpent staff characteristic issue of statues of the God of healing. It is entirely possible that the group actually represented Christ, and either the woman with an issue of blood or possibly the woman of Canaan who implored him to heal her daughter. 3. According to, that might be Irenaeus, not really sure of that one, pictures of Christ were possessed by the Gnostic sect of Carpocratians, who crowned them with garlands like the pictures of philosophers Pythagoras, Plato, Aristotle, and others. While according to the Carpocratians, Pilate had a portrait of Jesus painted during his lifetime, and the Carpocratian Marcellina possessed a picture of Christ which he honoured, like those of Paul, Homer, and Pythagoras, with prayer and incense. 4. The Emperor Alexander Severus had a picture of Jesus. It must have been, however, only an ideal portrait like those of Apollonius, Abraham, Orpheus, and others, not Abraham from the old or Hebrew days in the Ur of Chaldee, and others which were also included in his Lararium. Lampridius Vita Alex Sev 29. 5. A brass statue of the Saviour was erected by Constantine the Great before the main door of the imperial palace of Chelsea. Theophanius in MPG 50, is it 108? 817. 6. A picture of Jesus painted from life was possessed by the Archduchess Margaret, which may be the same one as somebody's, it's got question marks there, altar piece of St. Luke at Brussels, M. Thousing, page 420, Leipzig, 1876. It's probably Leipzig in Germany. While the portraits just mentioned were prepared by human agency, there are others to which a supernatural origin was ascribed. To this category belong 7. A picture at Carmelium in Cappadocia, apparently on cloth, and perhaps a copy of that of Edessa, and it mentions that below apparently. It was mentioned at the Second Nicene Council and was carried to Constantinople by Justin II, or Justin II, where it was regarded as so sacred that a special festival was instituted in its honour, and it was frequently carried and wore as a potent icon. J. Getse Opera 15, not 196 to 197, Regensburg 1741. 8. In the war against the Persians, the general Philippicus had a picture of Christ, which the Romans believed to be supernatural in origin, and the same portrait served to quell a mutiny in the army of Priscus, the successor of Philippicus. Okay, this one up here from Edessa, a copy of that Edessa. That one in Edessa, probably the headcloth of Christ in the tomb. Somebody grabbed it, and apparently the king, the Black King, well, Abgar the Black, had a disease. Him and his son, he wanted to be healed by Christ, so he wrote him a letter, and he says, I'm too busy, I'm about my Father's business and I can't come, but I'll send one of my disciples there and he'll heal you. So apparently this guy took the cloth and then healed this king and his son, and this is like a gift to this Abgar the Black, this Black King of Edessa, and he treasured it, but someone came along and invaded or something and stole it, and it ended up possibly as the Shard of Turin in Italy there. Or maybe that's a complete fake copy of it, right? Don't know. Yeah. So it disappeared, apparently, according to the histories. And then the letter to Abgar is supposed to, the Black, that king, is supposed to be fake and didn't exist, all this sort of stuff, according to different peoples. Okay, 9. A Syriac fragment mentions a picture of Jesus painted on linen and found unwet in a spring by a certain Hypatia shortly after the Passion. This portrait left a miraculous imprint on the napkin in which it was wrapped, and one of these pictures found its way to Caesarea, while the other was taken to Camolia, possibly identical with the city of Camulium, already mentioned, although a copy was later found at Byzantine, and there's a question mark there. Lip Suis die Edition, that's in German, page 67, number 1, Brunswick, 1880. 10. About 570, a linen mantle was shown at the church, a church in Memphis, which bore the impress of the Saviour's face and was so bright that none could gaze at it. Antonius Martyr, the Locus Sanctus, I don't know what that number is. Byzantine, 11. Byzantine literature frequently mentions pictures of Jesus, of Christ, impressed on bricks. According to a legend which presents several slight variations, the portrait of himself, which Jesus has sent to Abgar, it's Abgar the Black, the king at Edessa, was believed to have been walled up to save it from the attack of King Ananun, and to have been rediscovered in the Patriarch in 539, together with a brick which bore a miraculous copy of the original Georgius Cedrinus. Was that maybe edited by Becker? 312 and others. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, and there's history behind it apparently. The Patriarch Germanus, when forced to leave Constantinople, is said to have taken with him a picture of Christ, which later came into the possession of Gregory II. G. Marangoni, Storia del Oratorio di San Lorenzo, paragraph 78, etc., etc., Rome, 1747. 13. The cloth with a picture of Christ presented by Photius to the hermit Paul at Latro in the 9th century was merely a copy of a miraculous original, although only he to whom the gift was made was able to perceive the portrait, others seeing only the cloth. Okay. Gret ses ut sup, or maybe it's a Latin for supposition or something, not really sure. Page 186. 14. More important than all other statements concerning The oldest picture of Christ is a passage of Augustine de Trin 8:4, stating that the portraits of Jesus were innumerable in concept and design. 3. Extant pictures of Jesus. 1. Portraits ostensibly authentic, portraits by painters, sculptors, etc. The paintings of Luke, of which the best known are two at Rome. One of these in the Chapel Sanctus Sanctorum. It's probably like Holy Saints Sanctorium, sort of thing. Although the statement that Luke painted a portrait of Jesus dates only from medieval times. The monk Michael, the biographer of Theodore of Studium, being one of the earliest sources. In the last quarter of the 12th century, the legend of Luke was interwoven by Wernher of Niederrhein with the tradition of Veronica. See it below. Luke, in answer to Veronica's entreaties, is said to have made repeated attempts to portray Christ, but his endeavours were unsuccessful. Jesus then impressed the image of his face upon the handkerchief of Veronica. Another picture ascribed to Luke and painted on cloth is in the Vatican Library, while a third is said to have been placed in the Cathedral of Tivoli by Pope Simplicius. Other pictures are likewise ascribed to a similar provenience, and very late traditions even attribute statues of Christ to the chisel of Luke. In the Church of San Miniato at Monto, it's probably in Italy, in the environs of Florence, Italy, is shown a portrait of Christ attributed to Luke. 2. To Nicodemus is described a statue of the crucified Christ, and then it goes on to alleged supernatural pictures. Pictures of Jesus in ancient art, symbolical and allegorical representations. Representations as teacher and lawyer. Origins of the pictures of Jesus. While the theory may be advanced that the oldest pictures of Christ were based either on works of art still more ancient or on tradition, it is practically certain that they are not real portraits but ideal representations. That's why they have chestnut hair, golden hair, ginger hair, red hair, brown hair, black hair, etc. Hair parted down the middle like Jared Leto, the guy who played Joker, etc.